Hello, everyone, and welcome to CFP Today. It is Monday, November 4th. Just got back from a Buffalo Bills tailgate, as people know how to party. Looking forward to diving into all things throughout this week, a little bit looking back on the CFL's Eastern semifinal, Western semifinal, and then, of course, looking forward at division final weekend. Of course, we're brought to you by Fox 40. You can check out Fox 40 Gear products to make sure that anything and everything with your team runs smoothly. They got whistles, stopwatches, ball pumps, and more at fox40shop.com. And of course, use the code CFP15 at checkout for 15% off of your order. The first thing that I wanted to do in this week to kind of set the table for you here on CFP Today is take a look around at the kicking situation, because it obviously played in a large way in the division semifinals. Now, the thing I was most interested in going into this is I kind of picked out one statistic or one note on all of the kickers that were involved, whether it was Lewis Ward, Liram Hajrullahu, Brett Lauther, Sean White, going into the division semifinals. Here's what I had for you first on the losing kickers. Then we'll talk about the winners and how it kind of plays into the division finals. For Ottawa, they had allowed 8 explosive punt returns on the season. It's one of the worst. Like, they were giving up big returns, which, I mean, also plays into the fact that Richie Leone with that kickoff at the the end of the first half. Dwayne Ford, I thought, did a masterful job of painting the picture in real time of just going, well, there goes the momentum that you built, and it wasn't an excuse and it wasn't a made-up narrative. It was, you could actually feel as you're watching this, like, Ottawa's got a very small margin for victory. They need to get everything they can out of their special teams unit. Bob Dice has been a very good special teams coach in the CFL. That was just a mistake, obviously, but it's one that cost them nonetheless, because it's essentially you take away the momentum, 3 points at the end of the first half, they get the football back, Toronto scores a touchdown to open up the second half. Well, now you're down 10 since the last time that Drew Brown has actually touched the football. So 8 explosive punt returns was hugely in question for me going into that game. Ottawa, they had a touchdown on 41.5% of their score zone trips this year. I tweeted that out in game because they were getting deep and then they weren't finishing. Well, who was coming to rescue them? As always, Lewis Ward, who was 58 of 66 on the year. He was 41 of 46 from inside 40. That's 9 more attempts from inside 40 yards than any other kicker in the CFL. That doesn't tell you that they really trust Lewis Ward inside 40. If you're in the pros, if you're in the CFL, you should be trusted inside 40 yards. That tells you that their offense was not finishing at a high enough level throughout the season, which means they had to lean on Lewis Ward to get as many points as they possibly could. Here's the interesting thing. Lewis Ward was also 6 of 6 from 50 plus and 5 of 5 in week 21 against Hamilton. So he was heating up at the right time. Thought he had a good game, did a good job. But Ottawa, the story there was your special teams failed you, whether it was big returns being given up, Richie Leone on that kickoff at the end of the first half, or having to choose to use the field goal unit instead of finishing with touchdowns when they had the opportunity, because anybody who knows playoff football knows if you are an underdog, especially if you're on the road, you sure as bleep better get as many points as you possibly can, as often as you possibly can. So BC obviously loses as well. Sean White, this is the number I pulled for him kind of going into this one, which didn't really, this number didn't factor in all that much just because the wind was crazy there, and obviously Sean missed an extra point, and he also missed a field goal attempt, was 2 of 3 on the game. But he had the second shortest average make on the season at 29.6. He only had 3 misses all year, 37 yards, 46 yards, 51 yards. He was 4 of 5 from downtown, just outweighed by 37 short attempts. That's why, like, he was very good from 50 plus, but he just had so many short attempts on the season, and a 49.1% touchdown score zone percentage for the BC Lions this year is, I mean, they didn't have a touchdown for like a solid month and a half to a receiver when Nathan Rourke came in as he was readjusting to the game and VA was still out and they weren't letting him start. That meant that I just talked about Ottawa, their low score zone touchdown percentage. The next worst team was the BC Lions, and they're the 2 teams that are bowing out of the playoffs at this point. But man, the wind, I think, caught Sean White out. Even that one extra point I saw on social, I didn't realize in real time just how much it hooked in the wind at Mosaic. But in terms of the winning kickers, Liram Hajrullahu, 36 of 36 from inside 40 on the year. Just absolutely money. And he was obviously 8 of 8 September 28th against the Montreal Alouettes. Liram is pretty special, ice in the veins, all the things you would want in your kicker. You know, he is your Rennie Paredes, your Justin Medlock. Like, he is of that vein. And now he gets to do it on the road at Percival Molson when it'll be so loud he can't even think, which I think is going to be a tremendous opportunity for him and Toronto. But again, if Liram Hajrullahu is doing anything other than kicking extra points, I think the Argonauts are going to be disappointed because we've seen how explosive their offense has been for the last while. For Saskatchewan, going into the Western Final against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Brett Lauther, 82.8% on field goals this year. That's 7th in the Canadian Football League. But just like most of the statistics throughout this entire season, as I have been mentioning time and time again, it's been such a strange year. There's been so many different chunks of this season that you really can't take the year-long statistics and say Brett Lauther is an 82% field goal kicker, because he's not. He's been 22 of 23, excluding the game they just played where he added on another 2, since Labor Day. Essentially, if you add that in, he is 24 of 25. 24 of 25 since Labor Day, and his only miss was from 60 yards out. Brett Lauther hasn't missed a meaningful, realistic kick since Labor Day. If I am the Riders, I am loving that. Because he's not an 82% kicker. He's a 100% kicker on realistic kicks that have been taken since Labor Day. Which, as everybody likes to say, well, this is when it really matters. Well, if it really matters at this and he's 100%, well, I'd like that if that was my kicker. But if you take that miss out and you also add the 4 for 4 that he was the previous week before Labor Day, he has essentially hit 28 straight, which would be in the top 10 all-time in CFL consecutive field goals made. Like, Brett Lauther is on an all-time heater, and we just seem to be ignoring it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, kickers don't influence the game. They do, in a massive way. So I think Saskatchewan might have the best kicking situation going into this game. With all respect to Liram, I think Jose Maltos has done an excellent job filling in for David Cote throughout the year. And Sergio Castillo, the way he ended the regular season, oh, I missed. Our season's over. We're not going to have the bye. Oh, look, I get another chance thanks to the wind of God just randomly coming over the top of the hill in Montreal. And he crushes one through with maximum confidence. So which kicker do you think puts his team in the best situation? Which one do you have the most confidence in to kick a game-winning field goal? Whether it's the home team, the away team, any of these 4 kickers going in, I think it's a massive question that's going to play a huge, huge role in everything that unfurls over the next couple of days, and especially in preparation, I think, for these games. But should be a fantastic division final. The kickers will factor in, as we know. And don't forget, of course, to support Fox 40 with their coaching boards and range of clipboards, carry boards, and help on all things on your sideline needs. Visit fox40shop.com and shop them and take 15% off with CFP15 as your promo code, as always. Coming up tomorrow on Tuesday, I'm going to have a breakdown for you of the MOP discussion, which obviously it's a quarterback against a running back. It's Canadian versus American. It's a guy who's in the playoffs, a guy who didn't even make the playoffs. But who is the real MOP? We'll talk about that tomorrow on CFP Today.